Well, good evening, everyone. It's Pastor P here with another word of encouragement, and I hope that you all had a wonderful weekend. Um, Thank you for joining me. Thank you for supporting my Facebook page. Thank you for tuning in every Monday, and those that are watching the replay, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. So let's just jump right in. So, our message today is titled Sometimes a Cutoff Isn't Personal, It's Spiritual. Have you ever experienced a separation in your life that felt painful? I know I have. Confusing, or even it was unfair. Maybe a friendship ended, a partnership dissolved, or a door closed that you never expected. It's easy to take these moments personally, but sometimes a cutoff isn't personal, it's spiritual. God may be shifting relationships, redirecting paths, or making space for something greater. In Acts 15, verses 36 through 39, we see a good example of this, where it talks about Paul and Barnabas separating. It says, after some time, Paul said to Barnabas, let's go back and visit each city where we previously preached the word of the Lord to see how the new believers are doing. Barnabas agreed and wanted to take along John Mark, but Paul disagreed strongly. Since John Mark had deserted them in Pamphylia and had not continued with them in their work, their disagreement was so sharp that they separated. Barnabas took John Mark with him and sailed for Cyprus. Paul and Barnabas were two close ministry partners. They had a sharp disagreement over John Mark. This wasn't a petty argument, it was a spiritual separation. They weren't moving in the same direction anymore. So God allowed them to separate. So, what I wanted to get across on my first point, a cutoff doesn't mean conflict, it means calling. It means there's a calling. Paul and Barnabas had worked together in ministry, but at this moment, their assignments were no longer aligned. Barnabas, true to his calling, wanted to invest in John Mark, while Paul felt led to continue the mission without him. Neither one of them was wrong. God was simply calling them to different paths. So sometimes we struggle to let go of people, not realizing that God is calling us to different assignments. Just because someone is no longer walking with you doesn't mean that they're your enemy. What feels like rejection may actually be a redirection. So we have to ask ourselves, am I holding on to something that God is trying to shift? And then my second point, a cutoff doesn't mean hate, it means growth. See, Barnabas took John Mark and went one way, while Paul took Silas and went another way. The result is instead of one mission team, there were now two mission teams. The gospel was being spread in more places because they separated. What if your separation is not a setback, but a setup for a greater impact? Sometimes when God removes certain relationships, it's because He is making room for more growth, both in you and in them. Separation doesn't have to mean bitterness or we get mad and just hate the person. No, sometimes it means expansion. When God shifts relationship, trust that He is leading both parties where they need to go. Instead of asking, why did they leave? Ask, Lord, what are you doing in this season? And then my third point, a cutoff doesn't mean forever. It means for now. The beautiful part of this story is that later, it Paul and John Mark seem to have reconciled. In 2 Timothy 4:11, Paul tells Timothy, get Mark and bring him with you, for he is very useful for me for ministry. The very person Paul once refused to travel with became valuable to his mission later on. This reminds us that some separations are seasonal. Just because God moves people in different directions, now that doesn't mean that he won't bring them back together in the future. So be open to God restoring relationships in his time. Don't burn bridges. Sometimes the separations is only for a season. Trust that God is writing a bigger story than what you can see right now. As I close, not every cutoff is personal. Sometimes it's spiritual. Paul and Barnabas didn't part ways because they hated each other. They parted because God had different assignments for them. So if you're going through a separation, don't let offense cloud your vision. Ask God what he is doing in this season. Sometimes letting go is the very thing that will launch you into your next level. So, is there a relationship God is leading you to release? Have you mistaken a spiritual separation for a personal rejection? Are you trusting God's plan even when people come and go? So I hope that that message encouraged you this evening. And I just wanted to just bring this word. I get it first. I experienced it. So I just wanted to share this word that really encouraged me during my moments of uh, being cut off for a more purposeful plan that God has. All right. So I pray that you all have a great evening, and I will see you next time on next Monday with another word. Take care. Have a great week.